Professor Khene, heads of academic departments, special guests, family and friends, colleagues, welcome to this Vice Chancellor's Distinguished Research Award Lecture. Our two DVCs, Dr. Clayton and Dr. Mapesela, asked me to convey their apologies. They would have loved to be here. They are away on university business. The Research Award recognizes excellence, innovation, and dedication in research by Rhodes academic staff. This is an evening in which we as academic peers, colleagues, students, family, friends, and members of the public celebrate the intellectual and scholarly achievements of one of our own. Tonight's Distinguished Research Award lecture is delivered by Professor Khene and is entitled The Journey to Digital Citizen Engagement as a Game Changer for Development. Professor Khene is acknowledged as a leading researcher in the field of evaluation and ICT development. She has spearheaded multidisciplinary research in this field with the objective of improving socioeconomic development, citizen engagement, and e-governance. MobiSAM, a multidisciplinary mobile technology-based social accountability project, has been her chief undertaking in recent years. Initiated 8 years ago, Professor Khene co-leads this project with an international collaborator, and through it works alongside government and NGOs to develop practices and evaluation techniques for digital citizenship engagement and communication. The prototype deployment in the Makana municipality has been through the real-life challenges of a failing local government and has provided far more than technical knowledge, but also valuable knowledge in the spheres of social innovation and governance. She has more recently expanded the scope of her field trial ambitions, working with the NGO SAF-AIDS in a pilot, which is planned across 6 Southern African countries, employing digital citizenship in the context of reproductive health services. Colleagues in the Department of Information Systems describe Professor Khene as passionate, dedicated, and thorough. She is admired for her hard work and unrelenting drive, and her research work is said to be consistently of the highest caliber and integrity. She manages this all the while being an engaged mother to her 3 children, Kathleen, Mika, and Kenzo, who are her main inspiration to ensure she contributes to a better future for our country and the world. I'm told that life as an academic mom is just about the busiest job description in the whole world. But she does this with grace, style, and humility. Professor Khene is said to believe fiercely in what she does and has an unwavering aspiration to contribute meaningfully to the world around her. She is very protective of those in need, whether it is her family, struggling colleagues and students, or the people she meets and works with through her engaged research work. Professor Khene's research exemplifies the kind of engaged research that Rhodes University seeks to promote. Her local relevance has seen her serve as an expert advisor to a number of government working groups at both local and national level, including the National Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, and the National Treasury. In the global space, she has established international collaborations with the University of Washington, University of Limerick in Ireland, and the United Nations University in Macau. Professor Khene has an outstanding research profile in relation to her relatively early career stage. She has a strong publication record with an impressive citation rate, is a highly engaged journal and conference reviewer, and has been successful at securing numerous research grants to support students and field trials. A noted postgraduate supervisor, Professor Khene's mentoring of postgraduate students has spanned the traditional fields of information systems, computer science, journalism, and sociology. She is known as a go-to person for both students and staff in her department. For all those who are seeking advice, she is the person to go to. As well as mentoring her own master's and PhD students, she has taken prominent roles in the International Federation of Information Processing, Working Group 9.4, Social Implication of Computers in Developing Countries, and International Development Information Association Master and Doctoral Students Colloquium. One of her referees for this award stated, she has dedicated her teaching and research to capacitate young researchers in making a theoretical and substantive contribution to the discourse in this area. Her referees have also described her as a change maker within her field and an exceptional researcher amongst her peers. Her work has continuously challenged the fields of ICT for development and e-governance, which are characterized by the complexities associated with eradicating poverty and developing more responsive governments to the needs of citizens. In her spare time, Professor Khene enjoys doing pilots for a bit of me time. But most of her spare time is dedicated to her family. I'm advised that she is a brilliant cook and always bakes amazing and creative cakes for her children's birthday parties. Her husband, Professor Sam Khene, who is here with us this evening, for this momentous evening, is a wonderful support to her. And of course, she also bakes wonderful birthday cakes for him. Colleagues in the Department of Information Systems enjoy those birthday cakes as well. I now invite Professor Khene to present her 2018 Vice Chancellor's Distinguished Research Award lecture.
I did not expect that. You've actually taken one of my slides away because I was going to talk a little bit about myself, but it looks like you've been doing a bit of your own research. So thank you, Dr. Mazela, and whoever informed him about my activities. Okay, thank you everyone for coming today. I just want to start by saying that it's quite humbling to have actually been nominated for this award. Sometimes you get so ingrained and involved in your work, you kind of forget about the things that you've done or achieved over time. So today I'm just going to give you a presentation about my journey to digital citizen engagement as a game changer for development. Starting from where I got an interest for it as a student, and then finally to where I am today as Director of MobiSam and working with my team in trying to implement digital citizen engagement. So who I am, Dr. Mamzila has said most of that. I'll add a little bit there. And then I'll go on to talk about my philosophical approach and how I believe research could actually provide value in our context. I'll then introduce you to the ICT4D field for those who are not so familiar with that particular field, and provide you with an overview of my research journey. And then I'll give a presentation on two key projects that I direct and I'm involved with as in a team, the MobiSam project and the MobiSafe projects, both digital citizen engagement projects. From there, I'll move on to talking about technology as an amplifier and where to from here, given the challenges we've experienced in the project and the opportunities we have to actually learn and grow from those challenges that we've learned over time. I want to start with a quote that I resonate with, and I think a couple of my fellow academics and researchers resonate with very well. Theories are the products of the theorists who create them. So inevitably, the life experiences of the theorist impact on the development of the theory. So my interest and my desire to do ICT for development actually emerged from what I saw and observed as I was growing up as a child. I come from a very good family background. My parents worked very hard to give us opportunities, but it's impossible to not see what is actually happening around you in our African context, where as a young child you see someone begging in the street and you ask your mom why this person actually is begging in the street, why don't they have food, why don't they have money? And it's a simple kind of concept that you think about, but it actually frustrated me so much that I really wanted to have a desire to sort of introduce some sort of change or develop the rights of individuals to actually have services from governments that they deserve. So I've been introduced very, very well. I am originally from Uganda. Happy Independence Day, if anyone is Uganda. Our Independence Day today. I came to Rhodes University in 2001 as a student, first year. I met my husband here. In 2004, 2004, we went to the same church, we saw each other, but we only really became friends at a later stage. Yes, we were friends for a very long time. Eventually, we got quite close, and he was told me, Caroline, I think you're the one for me. Of course, I thought he was joking, but anyway. I have 3 children with Stan. 2 of our children, Maika and Khene, they're both adopted. My husband and I both share passion to give opportunities to children that deserve it. And then last year we had a surprise. Kenzo just came out of nowhere. As my 11-month-old baby, true blessing to us. If anyone knows us very personally, it has been a challenging time for us. So it was a wonderful blessing, but also it grew me immensely because I was at the peak of my career. So it grew me immensely. I've talked a little bit about my background and my passion. It is for my family that I do what I do. It's for the people that I see struggling that I do what I do. And I hope that you can be informed about my work around that. So when we do research, we have a particular research philosophy that we follow because we have an interest in seeing some sort of change happen from the research we do, the data we collect. So the research philosophy is a belief that we have about why and how we collect data. My research philosophy is around pragmatism. And when we look at pragmatism, we're mainly looking at how we discover knowledge and truth through our experiences and observation to explain the actions that we see and observe in our particular context. But what I've really found quite emancipatory in nature is that when you use pragmatism, you get a deeper understanding of the key challenges that people are experiencing and are faced with, so that you can work together with them to address many of the problems that are faced in our context. So my particular specialization emerged from ICT for development, which stands for Information and Communication Technology for Development. It's interesting, one student once came for my course thinking the 4D was because it was about 4D graphic design, but no, it's not. Information and Communication Technology for Socio-Economic Development. So my interest in this particular field and many of my colleagues in this field, it emerged from the need for information and knowledge for development. And there was a great hype around the use of technology to support addressing Millennium Development Goals. But obviously there are many controversies around what Millennium Development Goals are. I won't go into that for my sociologist, so excuse me for that. But the idea was that the information and knowledge can be used to inform people in very challenging contexts of what works best for them. Okay, so rather than having people from external programs dictating how things should work for them, information and knowledge is empowering to allow them to make those choices for themselves. So information and knowledge in society can support society in two particular ways. You are trying to get an understanding of what can work best to address your challenges in marginalized communities, but also to provide external programs and individuals with an understanding of what is actually happening on the ground. What are the actual needs of people in developing contexts? Okay, so it was all about trying to get that communication that was transferred between individuals that had a need and people that could invoke change and ignite change in those particular contexts. So there were two key contributions of ICTs. One was how could it be integrated into existing programs for development? By the way, okay, maybe I skipped some, but I'm hoping by now everyone's quite digital and they understand what information and communication technologies are. Yes? Okay. So it's all about how can you use technologies integrated into existing programs. So whether you're looking at a health program or looking at an education program, and then how could you use information technologies to initiate a new change of innovation in development that did not exist before in a particular context. I'm hoping that some of these will make sense as I go into giving examples of the projects I've worked with. However, there were key questions around technologies. So in the beginning, and in the early 90s, there was a huge hype about let's implement a telecenter or some sort of internet hub in a particular community, and then somehow, magically, change will happen. Okay. The same thing is actually still happening today in South Africa, where you have schools that are done with tablets, you have teachers that are done with laptops, but they're not really sure how to integrate it most effectively. And so there's that debate around, okay, fine, you're providing with this technology, will it improve health services in this community? Will it provide teachers with, or will it provide students with better pass rates and so on and so forth? Or should you actually be addressing the fact that I don't have a roof on one of the classrooms in my area? This picture, my colleague, I don't know if you remember this, but this was taken at one of the schools in Dwesa for one of the projects we were involved with, which Professor Tezoli initiated, the Siakula Living Lab. So when we first went to Dwesa, we were met with quite a lot of resistance because we thought we're just being so unrealistic. We want to introduce a lab here. The government is not giving us money to have a roof on one of our classrooms. Okay. So the way that it was approached was actually wrong, and as a result, made quite a lot of resistance. So before I go on to talking about the debates around ICT, looking at that previous picture, there were key gaps that existed, which relates to how government goes about providing teachers with laptops in rural areas and so on and so forth. Somehow they would have an idea that development will occur, okay, when we just implement the technology. It will magically occur. However, there is no information strategy. There is no development strategy, okay? There is no strategy to incorporate partnerships with stakeholders to make sure that these are sustainable, especially if you're looking at the Department of Education, the teachers, the principals, the community members themselves. So what this particular author talks about is that when we're implementing technology, we need to make sure that we incorporate those three strategies: development strategy, an information strategy, and a technology strategy, to see how they actually tie in well with each other in guiding the development projects that exist. Okay. So what has happened over time, ICT4D is not totally irrelevant. Okay. So in the beginning, what this particular diagram provides is an indication of how we have transcended over time in relation to the relevance of ICT4D in our challenging context. So in the beginning, people were obviously debating that, oh no, ICTs cannot be used in these challenging contexts. People don't even have access to electricity. How do you expect it to work? So it was ignored in the very beginning. However, then it began to get implemented in a particular context, and there was quite a bit of hype around implementing it in schools and having hubs. So that's where we moved from, I'm not so good at using these things. That's where we moved from ICT4D 0.0 to ICT4D 1.0, where there was quite a lot of hype about how ICTs could be used to support existing development projects. And the perceived contribution of ICTs for development was quite high, right? But over time, people saw quite a lot of failure around these projects, quite a number of pilots around these projects that were not making a contribution. And therefore, then they said, maybe we need to change the way we do things. What do people in rural areas have? Okay? So there's that investigation. Everyone has a mobile phone, right? So let's actually go about leveraging off the existing technologies in rural areas. And that's where we moved from ICT4D 1.0 to ICT4D 2.0, where there was more integration and innovation around how we could use the technologies that exist in rural areas to innovate and provide support. So we moved away from an invention, let's invent a new application with, let's build a new telecenter, let's build a new internet hub, to let's use what already exists in the particular context. And moving on to ICT4D 2.0. However, was that enough? Were we making any progress in relation to that? We still had people that were introduced to new mobile applications that could provide them with information, but they were not using them. Okay, we still had people who had new programs that integrated technology, but they resisted in using them. So, and that is still the case today. Okay, so what was the issue that actually was emerging? And here we use amplification theory to sort of get into detail on what was actually happening on the ground. So technology, fine, provides those opportunities for information and communication and interaction, but it can also be used, when it's used, it actually is an amplifier of existing institutional forces. In this sense, it actually increases inequality depending on who has the ability to harness it for what it really can provide. Okay, so then technology to support development cannot make up for the lack of human intent and capacity, right? So we had to now sort of like to delve deeper into understanding what are the issues around this. And anyone who knows this, I always try and refer back to this particular theory. If I break it down into components, technology as an amplifier looks at three key aspects. Firstly, differential access. Access, the most obvious one. Who has access to a mobile phone? Who has access to electricity? Who has access to data? Okay, those key questions, right? And even it's as simple as the municipality, when we are trying to work with the communications department or the electricity department. Do they have electricity in their department? Is Facebook blocked, even though that's quite a key application they can use to communicate with citizens? So many issues around access. That has been a key focus for ICT4D for many years. However, there are two other very important aspects. Differential capacity, right? Who is able to use technology effectively for its intended purpose. If you look at the case in the schools that I gave you the example of, teachers are provided with amazing applications for teaching, laptops and different types of technology. But do they have the capacity to integrate it into their existing curriculum and the way that they teach their students? Okay, so that's an example. So we need to ask about access, and we need to ask about capacity to actually use technology. And then finally, differential motivation. Is there motivation to use the technology for its intended purpose? Okay? Perhaps there are other organizational cultural issues that exist in our municipality that makes them resist having an interest in using technology to communicate better with citizens. Okay? If that motivation does not exist, then there's no use of having the technology. Perhaps citizens are tired and despondent that they've actually communicated their issues time and time again and nothing has been done about them. Why would technology make a difference? Okay. So then now, with all these challenges that emerged, what we began to see was that actually issues are more complex than we realized. It's not just about access, it's not just about being able to have the right kind of technology. There are deeper issues, and at some point I found out it was actually going beyond my understanding and my discipline in information systems. And that's why I started trying to apply a transdisciplinary approach to look at other theories from other disciplines and work with other disciplines to understand what is actually happening within the particular communities we work with. And how can we move away from the issue of pilot after pilot after pilot after pilot, very common with development programs. How can we move from being pilots to actually scaling? Because people are just reinventing the wheel over and over again and not actually having an impact on scaling to other contexts. How can we deal with uncertainty when working with difficult users who don't realize that there's a need that exists, don't realize there's a problem that needs to be addressed, and don't even know how to address them? How do you work with that kind of uncertainty? And how do you sustain such projects within those particular challenges that are being faced? So we needed to focus and dig deeper to actually understand our context, because we were tired of implementing these amazing applications and no one's using them. Very frustrating. No one wants to use them. What should we do? How should we work around those challenges and those issues? So I've spoken in general about some of the ICT4D projects that I've gone through. So having given you a bit of the background on ICT4D, looking at my overall journey from ICT4D to digital citizen engagement. My interest in ICT4D started when I was in third year, and we had an essay from one of the master students in the department, forgetting his name, around ICT4D and what it means in information systems. ICT4D is information systems. You cannot hide away from it, from the fact that we're living in a developing country and we're ignoring how we can use our discipline to actually integrate areas. So then, as I got an interest from that, I said, okay, I definitely have to follow this through and actually look at how it can be effective in different contexts. And there was a time when people said, oh, with rural development, it should be all about supporting our farmers, because our farmers are staying in rural areas, so that's the most important development aspect. And I'm saying this because it's a bit ridiculous, because there are many domains that exist in rural areas that need to be addressed. So I started off with my interests on ICTs for gender-specific agricultural development. Even though there was value in actually trying to understand that particular aspect on ICT4D and development, I found out that there actually are many other opportunities that exist for using technology to influence development in rural areas. And I was lucky enough to actually get involved in the Siakula Liminar, which was started by Professor Alfredo Terzori in the computer science department. And that was the first time that we actually got to understand what pragmatism is all about. So it wasn't just about going to collect data from individuals, using them for data collection and advancing your research, but it's about understanding what their challenges are, sensitizing yourself to them, and trying to work around their existing challenges to provide opportunities for them. And that's what I really valued in the Kula Living Lab. In that project, I decided to look at how is such a project implemented and managed in Dwesa. Are we going about understanding those key sustainability aspects that we need to advance and improve within a particular context? Or are we just applying external approaches of implementing technology in that particular context? So I developed my master's project, then developed a project management life cycle to support the development and implementation of ICT4D projects. Moving on from that, as I was involved in the Kula Living Lab, I also became quite frustrated that we were not guided by some sort of evaluation of what's going right and what's going wrong in the way we are implementing such a project in the community. And that's when I decided to focus on monitoring and evaluation and using a comprehensive approach to evaluate a project from before you implement it to when you've implemented it and then post-implementation to understand those key impacts that kind of emerge from the technology specifically. Whew, okay. It was quite interesting when I was trying to do this presentation, trying to figure out how do I just compress everything together, but I'll try my best. Okay, then so I had researched on project management and monitoring and evaluating these projects, but I realized I reached a deadlock. Okay, as much as these projects were actually quite valuable in evoking change, they were not being adopted, they were not being supported, and the support and sustainability tended to need to come from government. I was deeply frustrated because, you know, there's nothing so frustrating when you see there's a solution to something, but you don't have the support to actually address it. And that's when I got introduced to digital citizen engagement. It was quite an exciting thing for me because I said, now we can find a way for our citizens to fight for their rights to particular services that they need in their particular communities. And that's where I was introduced to it by Hannah Tunyani and was it Tally Palmer? Yeah, Tally Palmer through the Institute of Water Research around how we can address issues around service delivery. What are those gaps that exist? And how can we use technology and integrate it into existing activities on service delivery and accountability? So that was quite a key change for me, and that's when I decided that because ICT4D is quite complex, there are many different ways you can look at it in relation to stakeholder engagement, in relation to implementing technology in very difficult contexts, whether there are resource constraints, infrastructural constraints. It just became quite difficult. So I said, you know what, I have to focus and dig deeper to understand what the issue is for a particular area. And that's when I chose e-governance and digital citizen engagement.